everyone, welcome back to my channel Musical Moments with Marta, and this is Musical Solutions series where I discuss many different works for violin. We are now in the Vivaldi Seasons series, and I'm going to be talking about the autumn. This is the first movement, Allegro. It's in F major, and it's, as you may be aware, the pieces are based on poems, so there's text associated with the music. And this particular movement is very funny, actually. It goes between dance and song sections and being drunk sections. So the parts that are dance and song are more simple rhythmically and straightforward, and then the ones that are drunk are more rubato. And then it also changes from kind of a tutti section, which is that dance and song, and then the drunken part is usually with the cello or just a little bit of other strings, but it's more of a solo part. That's where the solo part begins. So I'm going to be using measure numbers. And by the way, if you'd like to see any other videos of mine, I'll have some links below the video. I'll also have the link to the sheet music. And I'm only going to be going by the measure numbers, because the letters, I'll put them in the timestamps and make sure that they are the same as the part that is below the video, the sheet music. But I'm not going to be naming the letters here in the video because I have a slightly different edition. But it will all work out in the end. We'll just use the measure numbers for now. So this movement, like I said, is in F major. And so it begins with the tutti. Kind of a forte, then softer. And I kind of like to put a little bit of an accent on this, on the fourth, eighth note, because that's where the note changes. It's kind of fun to emphasize it a little bit, so there's a little bit of a joy in that dance. So this is the villagers' dance and song. All right, and then measure 7, we continue. Then I start a little softer here. And then echo. Okay, so that's the first statement of the theme. As you can see, it's spiccato. I don't know if I was in the picture here enough, but so it's kind of a light, not too short, but you can interpret it your own way. I like it kind of brushy. So my arm goes in an arc or arch like this. But I put a little vibrato on it, not too much, just so the sound rings. And I don't really use finger work too much here. It's mostly from the elbow. Okay, so then we go to the solo part, which is measure 14. And now the soloist comes out of the orchestra and plays in double stops. So we gotta make sure that our double stops are nice and crisp and in tune. And this is not the easiest part. So let me talk a little bit about those double stops. So first of all, it's in F major. So make sure that you know your F major scale with the B flat, and where the whole steps and half steps are on these. So on the upper note, we have a half step, which is when the fingers touch. And then the lower voice, it's a whole step when there's a space between the fingers, the third and the fourth fingers. So it's very important that we know where those half steps and whole steps are, which means if the third interval is major or minor. So in this case, F to A, that's a major, that has F, G, A, that has 2 whole steps. And then the second interval, the G and the B flat, that's a minor third. So that's between G and B flat. We have G, A, whole step, and then A to B flat. Whole step, and then half step. I'm sorry, from G, whole step, and then A to B flat, half step. So I hope I didn't confuse you too much. But the first interval of a third is major, and the second one is minor. So that's why the fingers go different distances. But you can practice. I would suggest practicing one voice at a time. So let's do the lower voice. I would still, excuse me, I would still finger both notes, but the lower voice would be where I would be having my bow player. And this one is a little tricky because we're using an open string. Excuse me. So because I'm using an open E, I'm using fourth finger. This is measure 16. I'm using fourth finger on the G and open E. So the voices have reversed now. So the lower voice is on the lower string, on the upper string, I'm sorry, and then the upper voice is on the lower string. So we have reversed this, so that's why when you play just one voice, it doesn't, you would have to cross the string to get the melody. Anyway, so starting from measure 14, let's play the lower voice. So the fourth finger on the G plays in measure 16. We have that. Okay, and then you can practice the upper voice. Sorry, I'm not playing the lower. Still finger the lower voice. So that's what's strange here, because we are playing an open E, so that's why it's not as melodic, right? Because we're playing G on the A string and then open E, so it's a little strange for the ear, but that's how it is written, and that's if we finger it that way. There may be other fingerings. I have not done other fingerings. Okay, going on to measure 17, that's the same thing in piano. So that's what I do softly. Then we have to climb up to fifth position. Most likely, that's what I do. So we have A on the A string and F natural on the E string. And then go back down. It's a little tricky to coordinate fingers here because 4 and 3, so. Okay, and then we go down to second position on the same, it's the same melody, just an octave lower. So in measure 27, I would go from second position on the first interval, then down to first position. So this solo part, this one is probably one of the harder ones. I don't know, maybe for some people it's easy. For me, it's a little tricky with some of those quicker 16th notes, like this one in measure 16. You have to make sure that you don't go too fast. Don't try to go too fast because you can lose that clarity. You can like repeat the notes. You can practice in rhythms. So you're quick on that turnaround. All right, and now we're back to tutti, measure 27. In the middle of 27, we go back to the tune, the first tune. And this time it doesn't resolve to an F, like the first time in measure 13, stays suspended on the A, because then we go on to this section called Ubriacho. I am not sure how it's pronounced. You tell me in the comments. Which means drunkard. So now from that little third position on the D string, we have to find our high F, because now we're going to play arpeggios. So from like little repeated note, little scale patterns at the beginning, and some double stops, now we have to go into arpeggios. So make sure you know your F major arpeggios. 4 times the same thing. So we are obviously now in what, 5th position, right? So we can play all those notes in one position. Then we go down to 1st. That's what I do. So the challenge in here could be simply changing the notes on the odd number. So, or on the, not on the beat, but on the off beat. So the note doesn't change like, something like that. It doesn't go that way, it goes, so the notes change on off beats. So sometimes it's a little confusing to play it with the accompaniment, which is the cellist in this case, and harpsichord probably. Just make sure that your fingers are nice and crisp and they lift off the string real nicely. The coordination has to be really good there. So don't go too fast, practice slower. The practice slurred. That's a good way to practice at first, before you do separate. Because when you do separate, you have a lot more coordination to deal with. Okay, then measure 36, we have to go back to that first position F again, which can be tricky. So make sure you can hear the F. And then you can also practice shifting up there. If you have trouble hearing it right away, play third position. You could play third position D, then go to F, 5th position, and then the F is up on top there. So, or you could go from the E string. If you're adventurous enough to go all the way to 5th position, you can go from 1st to 5th to a C, and that's where the F is above there with the 4th finger. So, okay, so here is an F major, continuous in F major scale. It's very virtuosic actually. Be careful how you're crossing strings. It's the same scale started at 5, 6 different notes, like a scale going descending. So, and then you have to hit this on the G string, the octave. Then we slide back down half step. Again, 2nd finger on the G string. Then we're in 3rd position. Okay, so it's a pattern, it's a sequence. Just make sure that you're playing E natural and B flat. You have a B flat each time. So that's in 2nd position. Then we're down to 1st position. All the way to the A. And then the orchestra goes up, 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 up. A little bit of the theme. And then violin, the soloist goes. So that's measure 39, right? So this goes pretty quick. And now my edition is the Bernreiter, which is actually printed as separate for all those triplets. But I don't believe in that so much, so I'm playing 3-note slurs. So. Some people probably play it that way, but. So I just simply go to 3rd position, then I go to 5th position, and one more to the 6th position at the very end. So I end on 3rd finger on the F. Then there's more accompaniment, 8th notes in between these little sections that the soloist has. And here's another 3 scales. So now it's not so much F major anymore because we have a B natural and we have a G sharp in measure 43. So it's a G major really, but then at the end it turns into G sharp. So it still have a B flat there. So you have to make sure that you know the intervals, what kind of scale you're playing. So it's basically an F major scale, or kind of a C major because we have eliminated now the B flat. So here, so B flat at 41 we still have B flat, but then it goes into B natural. Then in the next measure, so it's E major really, E major from F major to E major. It's kind of a brief little thing. But then in 44 we have some E major chord again as well. So that's where he is going briefly, as always, briefly. All right, so with the scale at 41, 42, 43, what's tricky is making sure that you can play that scale really lightly and really quickly and knowing what the notes are. And then the next thing is to cross the string, cross each string very, very inaudibly, right? You don't want to hear it. So very smooth. So you can practice just to get your arm warmed up. You can practice it just like that on open strings, rolling across. But then, of course, then you have to know when you cross. So that's when you start playing the scale. You want to do it slowly and stopping, knowing how many notes are on each string. So that many notes, right? Then we have 4 notes on the A string, and then another 4 notes, and then 2. So little at a time. First you can do like that. Then you can go 2 strings. So let's say you go and you could even stop, but then keep going the same bow direction. So then you keep adding more notes. All right, so then we can add another string. So right, you can do another one, and then the next time, and this last one, it's on a down bow, but you can do either way. Okay, so that's a slow, maybe a slow process to be able to get through that pattern, or it may be really easy for you. Just make sure that your left hand is playing correct notes, and then once the left hand is really good, it'll be much easier for the right hand to know where to cross. Keep it smooth. Okay, measure 44. So here you can listen to different recordings, and there are different interpretations, of course. I like to take a little bit of time in measure 44, then in measure 46. And then once the orchestra comes in, the orchestra kind of comes back into tempo. So then in measure 45, the triplets are back to tempo. So it's just a little bit of rubato. Again, it's something, it will come with time and experience and by listening to some different interpretations. So 44. So I played this down bow. So this one, in my opinion, is one of the harder ones because you have D, F, and you probably wouldn't want to be crossing string. You don't want to do that. So again, I don't have a really big hand, and everybody's going to be a little different on this, but see how my hand gets stretched out a bit. So I have to reach that D and the F. Then G sharp. So it's a little tricky. Then we go to C sharp. Now this one's a little bit easier because we're now just using 2-4, then open 2-4, then the right hand needs to be nice and light to cross that string quickly. Or maybe you want to go on one string. So some people may do that, but I cross. I kind of keep it easy there for me. It's easier for me that way. Okay, and then 49. Again, you're gonna find that C. So maybe find it in third position first. If the fourth, I do fourth position on the second finger because you can't really do third position. You couldn't reach the E flat. So 1. So we have a pattern. You go up a third, then you go down 2 notes and go up 2 more notes. Then you go down a third and then do the same. Play a third, then it scales down and up. So a third, then it will scale down like a little turn. Then first finger, go down. So I'm actually keeping the first note still on the string. Well, not here. Kind of keep it close. Maybe not necessarily the entire time the first finger is solid on the string, but very, very close. Don't try to play like all individual fingers. Keep them close to the string. Yeah, don't. Try not to lift that first finger too much. If you can keep it on, that's even better. Okay, so there's some fourth finger there, unless you jump around more and play at 50, the last beat, the last 6 notes, you could play that in second position. That may work nicely. And then I'm sorry, that was 49. Did I say 50? The end of 49, the last beat, so the last 6 notes, I would play either in second position or in first position, but first position, second position may be actually better because then you don't have to do the fourth finger. You can be adventurous. Again, the same thing in measure 50. On the second beat, you could jump here to second position if you're comfortable with that. Or, well, you have to jump either way because the F sharp is higher than the C was. So when you're going to the second beat in 50, you have to cross over with the F sharp. Kind of nice little trill. The cello is playing taka 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 taka. They have 16th notes there, so you don't need to rush this trill. And then more scales. So another one of those virtuosic scales. You can just play lightly on one string, then the next string. So know how many notes are on each string. So it's 4 notes on all of them except the E string. And the same situation as we had in 41, 42, 43, you have to keep your arm going across those strings nicely so they don't get stuck, on the bottom, or you just kind of gently let the arm progress with the strings going down. And knowing how many notes on each string is useful. So you kind of anticipate a little bit. If you know that there are 4 notes on each string, you kind of just lift your arm a little bit like a little balloon, yeah? Okay, then a little offbeats. here I play light, a little bit longer. And that's tutti, so you would suggest that to the orchestra as well if you're gonna play them a little longer. And then short again. Piano. Now we're back in measure 67, we're back to the drunkards. So the part at 57 was tutti, which is back to the song and dance, and now we're Ubriacho again, or Ubriacho, and measure 67. So again, you can be a little rubato once you learn the piece well and it all works well. It will all depend on the other players as well. So make sure you don't do rubato that is not easily understood. So it could be like just a little hesitation here or there. But again, we have some arpeggios. In this case, those arpeggios are just like in measure 34, 33, halfway through 33, we had the same kind of pattern that it was one note, then a third, repeated two notes on a third, after you go to a third below or above, whatever, and then that's part of an arpeggio. Then you go down another third or fourth, and then repeat that note. But it's all off beats. So in measure 67, see, so it's not like you would expect. It doesn't change on the beat, it changed on the after the beat. So doing it with the metronome would be a good idea, because before you start playing it with the cellist, they have to know where you are, and they have to get used to hearing that beat being slightly off. So and I take a little bit of time, like when I climb up, you can take a little bit of time. Okay, so in here, the cello just does quarter notes. It doesn't have the same kind of difficult passage that it had at 34. That was a little more challenging for the cello and the violin solo to put together. So this one is a little bit simpler, but you still have to be very clear as to where your beats are. So I would, at first, just make accents on each beat until everybody understands what's going on. Okay, and then measure 70. So I know it says here you have 30 seconds and then you have 64ths. The last four notes of that run are 64ths. So you can do your best to try to play it exactly the way it's written. 1, 2, 1. It's basically, it speeds up at the end. It's kind of like a little rush, right? So it's really hard to play it exactly as written. It's more like it speeds up a little bit through the run until it finally goes twice as fast on those last 4 64ths. Okay, so this whole section is just tricky. You have to practice it really diligently, rhythmically, because the cello, for example, is doing eighth notes, quarter notes, so they have, you can follow them actually, and be clear about the runs that way, where the beats are, where the big beats are. So, so I basically do first position at 71. I go up to third position and then back down. Excuse me. Or yeah, I would go down to first position on that B flat in 71. Open string possibly. And then back to first position. Okay, so this one is tricky for the right arm, right? It's like playing two voices, like two different people playing. So So practice that part first. Make sure you know the upper voice. And then you can add the C. So the C is actually the softest. But you still have to jump with the right hand. You know, as little as you can. It's mostly your finger, right? Try not to do it with your elbows. Elbow. So you just reach there. So there's it's complicated, right? It's complicated in the left hand and it's complicated in the right hand. So just take your time, study the upper voice first, then make sure that you're economical with your motions here. Don't do everything with your entire arm, right? Try not to do that. That's just gonna take a lot more effort and make you tired and slow. So just from the elbow, a little bit of wrist. Then I play second position, C major scale. And then we're still in second position. Another tricky one for crossings. We have an open G, so that's not hard, but what's hard is to make it ring and then try to lightly play the top three notes. So and there are different interpretations on that. I started a little bit slower and then I speed it up as it feels more natural. So then I do echo. A little more. More. So I kind of shape it like little arches there. In 86, I go up to second position in the middle of the bar. F major scale. So you gotta go up to fifth position on the A string. G string. And now this following section is called Ubriacho de dorme, che dorme, which means sleeping drunkards. So now we are in a slower section where the accompaniment has a pulsating 8 note and solo violin just holds some nice notes here. So then we can do echo. And I do a little bit of ornamentation here if you'd like. A little scale. Now the rhythm in the orchestra changes. But we're just holding harmony here. 3, 4, 1, nice gentle sound. And here's just a long note as orchestra finishes. So you just have to wait for the strings to finish with them. And then we return to the Song and Dance by the Villagers. Sometimes it's a little tricky to make sure that the sound is nice and clean. I do a crescendo here from 111 with a little bit of a kick on the B flat. And then I finish forte. I like it, big ending over there. Okay, so this is the end of the first movement of the Autumn by Antonio Vivaldi. We went through the whole movement, and I'll be following with the second and third movements in the next few weeks. So please check it on Fridays. I always post these lessons on Fridays, Friday afternoon. And I hope you enjoy it. And please check out the videos that are here posted on the video next to me, one of those. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thank you for watching.